Jeremiah Iroff, what's up, dude?
Thanks for having me on.
Dude, thank you for coming on. Before we tell everybody a little bit about you, we gotta tell everybody about the weird synchronicity that brought us together. It was so funny. So we rent our office suite in a building, and there's other on the different floors. There's other offices, and Donald and I, you guys all who have watched the podcast for a while know about Donald. Donald and I were out to lunch or coffee or something, and we came back. We're like, hey, let's stop off on the third floor and see like what's new. And we walk by and we see there's a podcast studio in there. We're like, what the hell? We've never seen this before. And so we say what's up to the guys, but they were kind of busy doing something. And so we went up back to our daily routine and went back to work. And all of a sudden I get a friend from my friend and mentor, Dan Fulkerson, a big personal injury attorney who's obviously been on the podcast a couple times. And Dan texts me. He's like, hey, are you in your office? I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, I'm downstairs. Why don't you come down? I'm shooting a podcast. So it's just so weird that he was shooting a podcast with you guys. And we connected. Turns out we have Jiu Jitsu in common, the media stuff, podcast, cool life stories. And so why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Jeremiah?
My name is Jeremiah Iroff. I'm based out of San Diego. I have a content marketing agency based out of here. We mainly work with attorneys all over the country, and that's sort of what brought me into this office.
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool. So tell everybody a little bit about how you grew up and what led you to what you're doing now.
So I grew up, born and raised here in San Diego, and grew up sort of a harder life. And around when I was like just graduated high school, ended up on the streets, homeless. And but I wasn't a homeless that wanted to be homeless. I was even looking around at the other guys. I was like, I may be sleeping on the streets, but I'm not a bum. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys they're bums, from mentality to everything. I didn't want to panhandle money. So funny enough was my brother was homeless because we grew up in the foster system, right? So my brother AWOL'd from the foster system when he was like 16, and he enjoyed the freedom of the homeless lifestyle, and it is sort of free. Think about camping, but on the streets, not in the wilderness.
Yeah.
So when I became homeless, he's my younger brother too. Funny enough, 2 years younger. He was giving me the tips like, oh, put your wallet in your back pocket like this, so it's harder to steal. If you have a bike, tie a string to it to your leg, so if someone tries to steal it, it'll wake you up. And So then I was trying to figure out, like, how do I get out of this situation? I'm homeless. I don't want to be homeless. How do I get out of this situation, right? I didn't want to panhandle like everyone else was doing, because I always felt like, what if I asked you for $1, Kevin, and then next week ask you for a job? You're going to remember me as the guy who asked you for $1.
Right.
And it's not a good look. So I would go to business, and this is 2009, 2010. And so the market was in a deep recession from the 2008 recession. So business weren't doing that good, but I went business to business to business, asking them, hey, first I would ask them, can I get a job? 100% no rate. And then I was like, well, okay, I can't have a job. Well, do you guys need help sometimes? Do you need help like maybe washing dishes, washing the windows, cleaning the floors, mopping, whatever, I could go get stuff for you, whatever it is. Like 99.9% of people said no. But eventually a pizza shop, it's called, it's not the Friendly, but it's where the Friendly is now in North Park, 30th and Adams.
Okay.
So that pizza shop was I think it was called Mario's Pizza Shop or something like that.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, man, clean our windows, mop the floors, clean the tables. And first it was, we'll give you a pizza.
Okay.
Like, hey, I'll take it.
Food, right?
It's opportunity. You know what I mean? And eventually I was showing up, and they're like, well, we'll give you $5 and a pizza, right? And I was like, hey, I'll take it. Then there was an Ethiopian coffee shop that was next door, and then those guys were like, hey, I see what you're doing. Can you come mop our floors, clean our tables as well? And we'll pay you $20 and give you lunch. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, solid. I would do that. Eventually, and then one thing I did as well, I forgot to mention, was at some point I got access to a computer, right? So back then, not everyone had cell phones.
Yeah.
Right? And they were like, the original smartphones, and everyone sort of had not a smartphone. So eventually I got access to a computer, and I remember using Google, and I typed in how to not be homeless. For real. I'm like, how do I not? I was looking for answers.
Yeah.
How do I not be homeless? You know what I mean? Because who do you ask this?
Right.
Who get, you know? And I remember it had like one of those how-to websites. I don't know if you guys remember them, but they're like
WikiHow or something.
Yeah, WikiHow. It was like a WikiHow, and it was like step 1, you need a cell phone. Step 2, you need an address, because if you go get a job, you got to be able to put an address there.
Yep.
You need a cell phone, because if you get a job, they need to be able to call you back. So I was like, okay, well, step 1 and 2 is get an address, get a phone. So I was able to actually find one of these, like an Alpha Project satellite, where I was able to get an address.
Yep.
It was on 30th and University, or 30th street over from University. And then I would go hustle at all the restaurants that I was hustling for, eventually saved up $80 and got me a Cricket phone, little Cricket phone. It was like, I forgot, it was like super cheap. It was $80, and I forgot how much the fees were at the time. It was probably cheap, like $15 a month or something like that. Something crazy.
Which now looks like such a small thing, but back then it's like such a big.
Well, when you're homeless, like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I was ambitious.
Yep.
Then eventually I led to this gym in North Park. It's not there anymore. It's moved over to City Heights, called Undisputed. And I went in, and it was just like, I just got super lucky, man. Like, I went in because I was a wrestler in high school. And when you're homeless, you have nowhere to take a shower. I would go weeks without taking a shower, unfortunately. You know, I would have to bird bath it in the Burger King bathroom. So I needed a place to take a shower. I wanted a place to work out. And before I went to Undisputed, I actually went to this place called Boulevard Fitness.
Okay.
And they just opened up. Someone told me that they were having a grand opening special where I think it was like $15 a month with the grand opening special, right? And I was like, I could do $15 a month, have a place to shower, maybe get a locker, have like my valuable things, you know, like the birth certificate, I could get that stuff. And I went in, they showed me around, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, so how much is the membership? They're like, I forgot, $30-something a month. I was like, $30-something a month? But you guys have a grand opening special, right? Oh, they're like, no, that's over. I'm like, but you guys have the sign outside. It says grand opening special. They're like, no, it's over. I'm like, but because the sign's outside, I get that special, right?
Right.
They're like, no, that just means we have to bring in the sign. And I was like, okay, I see what it is. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Then I went to Undisputed, and just fate had it. I talked to David Ventura, and he told me the prices of the gym was like $130 at the time. And when you're homeless, bro, $130 is like $10,000.
Yep.
And I was like, so, hey, I shot my shot like I did with everyone else. Could I get a discount if I clean the gym? You know, just shooting my shot. And he said, as a matter of fact, we need a new cleaning guy. Can you start tomorrow? And I was like, whoa, yeah, absolutely. But I clean the gym. How much do I have to pay? He's like, no, you clean the gym. You don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom, showed up.
It
was August 2nd, 2010 is when I joined that gym. And that was literally the root of where I'm at today. Everything, all my connections, from everything rooted from that gym. And from there, my teammate Milan, his dad but he was the captain of a fishing boat. So from there, I went commercial fishing, caught 88 tons of albacore tuna.
Damn.
Out in North Pacific, yeah. Came back with a little bit of money. I wanted to start like a business and all that stuff, but I had so many people telling me what to do with my money.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a truck, starting a landscaping business, this and that. Oh, how much is it? I'm gonna pay $5,000 for this truck and buy everything. Oh, $5,000 for the truck is way too much. You should do this, or you should do that. You should do that. You should do this. Now, I keep in mind, I was 20, 21 at the time.
Yeah.
And so I had so many people giving me so much information that I sort of did like nothing. Wasted the money a little bit.
Yeah.
And eventually my friend came from Texas. He's like, hey, me and my stepdad were freelancing construction out in Texas. Do you want to come to Texas? I was like, yeah. Spent the very last bit of money I had on my ticket, flew out to Texas, and started building houses out there.
Damn, okay.
Came back to San Diego on my 22nd birthday and started a window cleaning business. So I went business cleaning windows. From there, I eventually became a barber. So I started cutting hair, and I was a really damn good barber.
Yep.
And I loved it and all that stuff. But it wasn't making me the type of money I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And I was like, and on top of that was when I would look outside the window in North Park and see everyone having a good time and I'm stuck inside, I was like, I can't do this life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So then I started like messing around with the camera because I was marketing my hair cutting. And then I just eventually got so good with the camera that I was like, I could do this for other people. So then I jumped into the marketing and the videography, which then led me to now marketing, creating content for attorneys.
Yep.
So it's a little, I left some stuff out, but you got to make the story a little bit short, and concise.
Well, I want to highlight something. So you did something that a lot of people just don't do, which is fucking bizarre because it's very simple, is you Googled how to get out of your situation, right? Mm-hmm. When people are in a situation, if you're listening to this and maybe you want to make more money, maybe you want to leave your job and go get a better job or go start a business or whatever it is, the answer is out there. And like you said, who do you ask about how not to be homeless? Like, the answer is out there, and it's out there now more than it ever has been. And actually, if you guys use ChatGPT, you can literally ask it anything. Like Carlos and I the other day were installing this record player and trying to get it all set up. It wasn't working. So I literally asked ChatGPT, like, who do we ask about this, right? Mm-hmm. The record shop didn't have the answer. We wanted to get it set up now. We don't want to wait. So what we did was we went to ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. We said, here's the model of the actual table, and then here's the model of the speakers. Here's what we did. Why is this not working? And it gave us the exact answer. Basically, one of the knobs we had to push. That was it. And it told us that. So, but this is obviously before ChatGPT, but you went out and you found the answer. So most people will just sit and go, well, I guess the answer's not there. Guess I'm fucked. Guess I'm stuck in this position. Guess I'm never getting out of this situation, which is just not true. You just have to take one step forward every time. And one thing that you did because of WikiHow or whatever it was you broke it down into actionable steps. So even if you're stressed, if you're stuck with stress, a lot of people will ignore that. They'll let stress just weigh on them. But really, you need to create step-by-step actions to get out of your situation, and sometimes it starts with Googling it. So
you have to want to find the answers.
Yeah.
To your situation. Some people actually don't want the answers. I used to feel so depressed going to the taco shop, going to Vaughn's or whatever, and seeing people make minimum wage, and because I saw myself as them at one point, like in this rat race. Like, you live in San Diego. San Diego's the most expensive city in the country right now.
Yep.
And it was expensive back then too. So I'm like, you would have to work 2 jobs, and you would have to have a partner working 2 jobs in order to make it out here.
Yep.
Living that lifestyle. And I'll get so depressed, and I'll be like, man, if only like they knew that they knew that they could easily make way more money.
But it's so funny because it's just funny how things change, because at one time you were homeless and you were looking at people with jobs like, fuck, I wish I could you're cleaning a gym for a free gym membership. You know what I mean? So it's just funny how perspective changes. And sometimes I find myself being ungrateful for where I'm at and then being like, wait, hold up. I remember when I literally could not get food. Like, I literally had to, it was either pay rent or get food, or cut payroll or get food. And, now it's like I look at the problems that I have now, which sometimes seem to be big problems, and they're really not at all, I
used to be 170 pounds, and I could not afford to eat. It was either I could eat breakfast or I could eat dinner. And I could only choose one. I can't have them both. So I did a lot of fasting.
Yeah. Hey, that's good. Intermittent fasting, I guess. You find a good way to look at it. So when you started at Undisputed, so did you start training jiu-jitsu there, or
yeah?
When did you start training jiu-jitsu?
So that's when I started training jiu-jitsu. I was 19. Eventually I was showing up at the gym so much that I got hired. Okay. And started making a little bit of money, and I took what little money I had and I bought a cheap gi. And then I started training with Barrett Yoshida. Yeah. And got my ass messed up. Like, I got worked, you know what I mean? And I got beat up so bad. I just remember thinking, like, I did not get beat up for no reason. Yeah. I will keep showing up every single day until I don't get beat up anymore.
Yep.
And I did. And I got beat up a lot, and I kept showing up every single day until I wasn't really getting beat up anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, it's crazy with your size and your wrestling skills from before. It's crazy you're still walking in there and getting your ass whipped. But I mean, you're training with some UFC fighters and some.
What are you talking about? Barrett. Barrett's like a smaller guy.
Yeah.
Like 135 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like working 350-pound bouncers, like really strong guys. And it was really humbling because you would look at someone like Barrett and you'd be like, this guy's not gonna fuck me up. Like, come on, bro. I'm a big guy. Like, I'm gonna whoop his ass.
Yep.
And then you learn really quickly how that's not the case.
Yeah.
And it's really very, very humbling. You learn in jiu-jitsu, never underestimate a smaller guy.
Yeah, technique beats size, you know, and it's funny because my first jiu-jitsu class, I remember I went to it was actually with my coach now, but it was before I knew him at the weird situation for another time. But I was training, and when somebody new comes into the gym, if it's a good gym, people are usually pretty chill. They don't fuck them up. Like, they let them win a little bit. But nobody tells you, and you don't know, because how are you going to know, right? And the natural reaction for pretty much everybody on their first day is, damn, I'm really good at this, because people are being nice and they're letting them, win.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my first day, I rolled with like 5 or 6 people, and I just kept submitting them, kept beating them. And I have, a little bit of wrestling in my background, and I was like, man, I'm going to be really good at this. And then this guy from my gym named Pedro, a Brazilian guy, him and I went after it, and he just fucking smoked me. And I remember leaving going like, okay, maybe I had this wrong. But yeah, jiu-jitsu is so humbling because it teaches you, like, even when you think you know something, there's somebody who is completely different than you that knows way more. And I mean, we have some black belts that are small, like 120 pounds, but there's no chance, it's crazy.
One of the biggest things I learned from jiu-jitsu, and I'm so glad I got into it early as a young man, is I used to, growing up on the streets, you're very quick to violence. As soon as you feel someone testing you, or you feel like you have to turn up, like, you literally have like 3 seconds to turn up.
Yep.
Or else you're just gonna get disrespected by bigger people with like. So in order, like, it's a survival tactic, growing up in the streets. And what I learned in jiu-jitsu was that shit doesn't work in the gym. You have to learn how to control yourself, control your temper. And I remember one day I was rolling with Milan Bakic, and I was a white belt. He was a purple belt at the time. And I just remember, like, he had me in his guard, and he has this koala bear thing where it's like he's a lanky guy.
Yep.
So he scissors his legs around your ribs and then reaches around and like
squeezes the shit out of you.
And he's broken people's ribs that way before.
Yeah.
So it works. And I just remember I couldn't get out of it. I didn't know how, so I just got mad. And eventually he started laughing at me. He's like, "What did that get you?
Yeah.
You're still in the same situation, and now
you
you're tired.
lost energy.
And you lost energy, and now you're tired."
Yeah.
And since that day, and it's been 13 years now or something like that, I've never gone that way ever again.
Yep.
And you also learn how to stay calm in stressful situations and weather the storm.
Yep.
And that a lot of things in jiu-jitsu are applicable to business and life. And I've used everything I learned from jiu-jitsu, and I've used that in life and in business.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, jiu-jitsu is a spiritual thing. Like it definitely, and there's something, we talked about this yesterday, but there's something about when you get a belt promotion or there's something that psychologically changes, probably connected to the subconscious, but there's real evolution that happens through the jiu-jitsu journey. And it's just, when you look at your mentality and your perspective before you go into jiu-jitsu and then afterwards, like you said, you learn how to stay calm in stressful situations because you got a big guy who can overpower, or even a small guy who can overpower you and has better technique, and you're struggling to breathe, trying not to get tapped out. That translates into, you get into an argument with a customer and you realize, like, hey, I need to just chill, right? This guy's spazzing out at me a little bit. I need to just chill, let him tire himself out, and then I'm going to go after it, right? Mm-hmm. So in jiu-jitsu, same thing. Some new white belt might be going all crazy, running at you, and we've all been that person, but you let them tire themselves out, and then you take them down, right? So jiu-jitsu is so applicable to everything. And it shows you also patience too, because when I first signed up at the gym, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a black belt by this time. And you just think that things are going to go, the way that you want it, and that timelines are, whatever. And, things get in the way or things happen, and it doesn't happen like that. But it shows you that, even if you have to have a plan, things are going to change.
Exactly. And I feel like now, like, most people don't make it past blue belt.
Yeah.
Most people are the most excited at blue belt. That's when they're the most motivated. Very few people make it to purple belt. That's why it's a meme, right? The blue belt who retired.
Yeah.
And what you learn, like, now I'm 32 years old, and I've came to terms that I'm not going to be a world champion. Like, I wanted to be a 22-year-old black belt.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't that I just wanted to be a black belt. It's like I wanted to be a young black belt and compete at a high level. But, obviously, like, I didn't have the gift. So that didn't pan out for me. But now I still do jiu-jitsu, and it's just because it's a part of my life. And honestly, don't care, because at some point when I get my black belt, there's going to be some point in my life where I have been a black belt longer than all the other belts put together.
Yep.
So now it's just a part of my life, and I just enjoy doing it. It's part, like, I feel like it's like my church.
Yeah, no, and it's part of your routine, ritual, whatever you want to call it. But you mentioned something, which is most people don't make it past blue belt. A lot of people retire, give up at blue belt, and they just stop. They lose motivation. They get that reward of, like, getting to blue belt, and they're no longer a white belt. But then and that takes years. Some people 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's a process, and then they see how much longer they have to go to get to where they're trying to go, black belt or whatever. But it's the same in business, right? Like, so many, we'll just use real estate agents as an example. So many real estate agents sign up, they sign up with a brokerage, they become a real estate agent, they go out, they close a couple deals, and then they're off to the next thing that they're chasing something in, right?
Shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, 100%. They think it's going to happen faster, and the grass is always greener on the other side. But people always... if you have the mentality that you're going to commit to whatever you're doing for the long haul, like for me, when I started the podcast, for me, when I started jiu-jitsu, for me, when I started in business, there is no barrier that's going to stop me other than death. There is no barrier that will get me to quit. You can throw anything in my way, and I'm not going to quit. There's a couple things in my life that I've had that level of commitment, and every single one of them, I've gotten what I wanted. And you have to have that, right? So you were not going to be homeless. You knew that was not going to be the case. A lot of people don't get out of that. A lot of people get stuck, and they go deeper down the rabbit hole. So,
and a lot of people, what happens is they don't know how to handle the hurdles. So it took me, technically, it took me about almost 5 years to not be homeless.
Yep.
It was a 5-year journey to not be homeless anymore. I only slept on the streets for the 1 year, but I was sleeping in the gym for a few years. When I was in Texas, I didn't have a place in Texas. I was sleeping on the job site.
Yep.
I was using a shovel. I was using the bathroom outside with a shovel. I hooked a hose to a watering well, and that's how I would shower,
Yep.
And then I came back, and I was still living in the gym, you know what I mean? And it took me a while to work my way out of that homelessness. And this is what I learned. I felt so accomplished when I finally stopped being homeless, right?
Yep.
I was like, oh man, I feel so accomplished. I feel like I could do anything. And I genuinely felt that way. I felt I was powerful.
Yeah.
I felt that I literally could do it. And I still feel that way. But what I've learned in my this was when I was like 24 and 25. And then what I learned as I turned 30 was I can do everything. I could do anything. I literally can. But now I understand the time it takes to get good at these things.
Yep.
So now I would be wiser to choose one thing and stick with that one thing and only that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, imagine if you started when you started jiu-jitsu, right? Imagine if you also started training judo, and you also took up, bass fishing, and you also took up, becoming a tattoo artist, and you know what I mean? Like, you can do one of those things or two of those things really well. But if you want to get good at something, and if you want to have the actual reward of hitting that level, you have to commit to a very small amount of things. And when you look at highly successful people, they're really good at saying no. They're really good at drawing boundaries, even when there's extremely good opportunities out there, right? So like I, all the time, have opportunities to get free equity in business for consulting. I would make a good amount of money doing it, but I turn it down because it takes the only finite resource I have, which is time.
Exactly.
You only have so much time in a day, right? And you only have so much mental energy in a day.
Exactly.
So
I think Jeff Bezos says he only has to make 2 or 3 decisions every single day.
Yep.
But he needs all his mental energy to make those 2 to 3 decisions.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's a, people think that they're, and here's another mistake people make when they go into business, is they try to do too many things at once, right? They want to, because they're seeing these, you know, YouTube videos of how to become a millionaire doing this and this and this, and it all looks good, and they've been sold, right? And I was in the same boat. When I first started my business, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this social media marketing company, which is what ended up making me millions. But I'm going to do this social media marketing company, right? I'm also going to sell on Amazon. I'm also going to do this private label supplement thing. I'm also going to do this and this and this. And guess what? It's like if you're trying, I use this metaphor all the time, but if you're trying to dig down to some gold that's 6 feet underground, you can dig 100 holes. If one hole doesn't go 6 feet down, you're never going to get the gold. So why not just put all that effort into one hole? Once you get the gold, you can start another hole, but fucking get to the gold.
That happened to me before. I was like, I was trying to do everything, right? I still loved cutting hair at one point, so I still wanted to cut hair. And then I was still doing video. So I was doing video, and I was renting out luxury cars. And what ended up happening, I was doing so much at one time, and I was making some decent money doing them all. But it got to a point where I couldn't, like, everything just started crumbling. Everything started crumbling. Like, I couldn't, like, put out this fire because I was also putting out this fire. And it got to a point where it's just like I had to, like, let it all go.
Yep.
I had to make the decision. I could have kept it all going, been, like, stressed out all the time. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to let it all go, and I'm going to choose one thing, and I'm only going to do that one thing. No matter what the hurdle is, I'm going to figure out, I'm going to get over that hurdle. Because a lot of people start something, shiny object syndrome, but what happens when they find out it's not as easy as it sounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could give you the game plan. I could give you the strategy.
Yep.
But are you going to be able to make it over all these hurdles? And most people only have the tenacity to make it to the first hurdle. Then it's not fun no more because it's not easy. They're like, oh, maybe I don't want that. Oh, well, this guy is making a bunch of money right here. Oh, shiny object syndrome. Yep. Maybe I'll go do that. Right. And then you hit your first hurdle. You're like, oh, it's not easy. And then you hear another shiny object. Oh, selling on Amazon. Oh, people are making $1 million doing that. Yep. I'm going to get into it. Boom, you hit your first hurdle, and you're like, oh, it's not easy. And you just keep on doing that. You never get anywhere.
It's a really, really vicious cycle. And, you know, that's the problem with YouTube is there's so many people teaching how to make money, right? But if they're so good at making money and it's so easy, why aren't they just sticking to the thing that's making the money? Why are they, you know, selling the courses, right?
Because they're selling the game. They're not selling actually doing it.
Yeah, they're selling the shovel. They're not selling the gold.
They're selling the shovel. They're selling the gold,
And don't get me wrong. Like you can, and there's a lot of fulfillment in showing other people how to do this stuff. That's why I have the YouTube channel. It's why I have this podcast. Like I want to give people the game that I wish I had when I was younger, right? Like that we both, I know, feel the same way. But my bread and butter is my bread and butter, right? The podcast doesn't make much, you know, it's my businesses that rolls all the money in. And, you know, that's where my main focus is. The podcast is here, and it's luckily my business runs itself now. So this is pretty much my main focus, but yeah, it's, well,
the podcast is fun, and it's a great way to network.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you direct money, maybe through AdSense or sponsorships or anything like that. But it brings you to people that you might not have met.
Yeah.
You get to have a conversation. And since you're putting out content, now people who normally wouldn't have seen you get to hear you.
Yep.
You know, so it does bring you money, but not in a direct way. It's a non-tangible way of making money.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have people all the time that are customers at one of my businesses, and you know, I'll talk with them and they'll say, oh, hey, by the way, I love your clips, or I love your podcast. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know this person. They signed up through my business, but they also listen to the podcast. So it's cool because who knows, maybe one video connects the dots with somebody and gets them to move forward in the sales process because they heard that, right? So yeah, I mean, content, putting content out is probably the most valuable thing you can do today, because your Instagram and your social media is the new business card, right? If people can't find you on social media, they're not going to want to do business with you because there's lack of transparency. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I 100,000% agree. Right now, it's so easy to be out there. Everyone can find you.
Yep.
And I like to give content, like the content I like to give, and I suggest giving, and what I do with my clients, and I'm gonna give it to you guys for free. Educate the viewer. People want to be educated. People are looking for the answers. Just the same way I looked up how to not be homeless anymore. I should make a video about that, by the way.
Yeah.
Just thought about that.
There we go.
Same way I Googled how to not be homeless anymore. Now you can create content for somebody like that, and you can literally make a video and they will watch it and they'll get so much value from that. And you get a lifelong supporter who eventually, if you sell something, they'll buy it because they're gonna be like, you helped me not be homeless.
Right. Because
of you, I'm making money now.
Yeah.
I want to, like, whatever you got to sell, I want it, because I'm a fan, you know what I mean? If you're not creating content, you're not educating, and that's the biggest problem why a lot of people aren't seeing success in their content marketing. They're not seeing success in their content marketing because they're thinking about selfishly them. How do I look good? How do I look cool?
Right.
When you stop thinking about yourself and you think about the person behind the screen and what they need and what they're looking for and where they're at in their business and what they're suffering from and how you can help them get over that hurdle.
Yep.
That's when you start seeing success.
Well, it's funny because that's how the world works, right? The universe is all, like, karma is real. So when you're going out and you're putting value out in the world, whether it's to somebody behind a camera or to somebody in person, right? When your sole intention is so pure that you're just going out of your way to help this person, not expecting anything back in return, it somehow finds you back tenfold. I mean, it is unbelievable how that works. It's the same thing in content, right? If your content is all about me, how do I look? I want to look good, which we're all guilty of doing sometimes, right? It's the ego. Everybody has it. But if you can get out of that and you can get on focusing on the person behind the camera or your employee or your partner or whoever, right? It always comes back. It's so weird how that whole thing, how the whole universe and energy works. Do you believe in law of attraction?
Absolutely. Like attracts like.
Okay.
Like attracts like. You will. So birds of a feather flock together. It's one of
Right.
my favorite sayings, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I say that right, but that's how I say it.
That's it, I think.
That's it, right? Birds of a feather flock together. So you will attract your tribe. Well, you ever notice negative people attract negative people?
Yeah.
Positive people attract positive people.
Misery loves company,
Misery
right?
loves company. Positivity also loves company as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
That's
what
a
I
good
mean?
point.
You want to, when you vibrate high, you want to hang out with people who vibrate high.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, let's say I have a whole team of people who vibrate high. I vibrate high. Sometimes, let's say I'm depressed. Let me say I lost a client, broke up with someone, whatever,
Yep.
girlfriend left, whatever. It's like I come in, my team's vibrating high. I'm getting charged up again. I'm vibrating high too.
Yep.
But when something bad happens to you and you're around negative people, it's just gonna tank you.
Yeah.
So like attracts like. Business people, minded people like to attract business minded people.
Yep.
And that's why they say I hate saying this because it's sort of cliche. Your net worth is your network.
Yeah, your network is your net worth. It's not dude, that's a great.
But it's true.
It's 100%. I mean, look, bro, if I didn't have a good relationship with Dan, right, we wouldn't have connected.
Absolutely.
Like, at least not on the level that we have now,
Yeah.
Like that's crazy how that works. And also, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So when I'm spending time with Dan, I told you, I'm like, bro, it's so weird. Whenever I meet up with Dan, I make more money. It's just guilt by association, right? It's the same kind of concept of like being around this person. They're just going to bring you up. And like you said, like you're going to match somewhere around them, or they're going to start to match you. So if you're hanging around with drug dealers and people who are negative and just bad people who are vibrating at a low frequency, you're going to attract yourself to that.
And that's also why you'll end up leaving a lot of your friends behind. And because you're moving up here, and for instance, like wanting to become a millionaire, right? Jim Rohn said this. He says, you don't want to become a millionaire because of the $1 million, right? You want to become a millionaire because of the person you have to become in order to make that $1 million. If you become that person, and everyone loses their first million, so if you become that person, you lose your million, But because you're that person, you can become a millionaire again because you became the person who makes $1 million. Yeah. You're not just a lottery winner. You didn't get lucky on a crypto dump.
Yep.
You actually became a person who became a millionaire. And that's the person you want to become and the people you want to network with.
If I taught you how to bake oatmeal cookies, could you do it?
Chocolate chip cookies.
All right, chocolate chip. Let's use that. If I teach you how to make chocolate chip cookies right now, can you do it? Let's say you do, right? I teach you how to make chocolate chip cookies. You make those chocolate chip cookies. Boom, I took those chocolate chip cookies away. Can you make it again?
Ooh.
You have the formula.
Yeah, if I have the formula, I can.
I showed you the formula. Yeah. You did it.
If you just made it for me, I wouldn't be able to make it. But if you gave me the formula and I was able to watch you do it and imitate that, then I can make them.
So it's the same thing with business, right? Like and this is why the hard work that you put in, it's not temporary. It's an investment in your future self. Because right now, I have 2 companies that do really, really well. Mm-hmm. I have another company that's still growing, and I've got a couple things going that are really good. Building the podcast. You could take away everything here. Take away all the cameras, the lights, the office, the employees, my money, my cars, my truck, my apartment. Put me in the space, in the lowest place possible. I'll fight my way back, and it'll probably happen 3 times faster than it did originally because I have the formula and I've done it before. Mm-hmm. So like if I teach you how to make oatmeal cookies, you do it once, you have the formula and you can find the ingredients out there. You can do that over and over and over again. I can take those cookies away from you as many times as possible. You can always start back over and it'll probably get faster and better every single time you do it.
That's why it's good to be friend to baker.
Yeah, there you go. But that's the thing is you if you don't have the ingredients and you don't know how to make oatmeal cookies, you're never going to make that.
Exactly.
So if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have somebody to teach you and show you the way, hey, here's how I built a business or oatmeal cookies, right? If you don't have relationship capital with somebody who can loan you the ingredients, who can maybe invest in a business or invest their time in you to show you like a mentor, then you're just not going to get there. But it all starts with that one thing, which is asking, trying to find the next step and creating actionable steps like you did.
That's how I got my mentor was he was posting his wins on a Facebook group. And I was like, there's no way, bro. Like, ain't nobody making this type of money in this game. Like, everyone else is like, they're talking about their $2,000 win, their $3,000 win. This dude's like, just closed a $70,000 deal.
Yep.
Just made $130,000. And I was like, this guy's all foolish. This guy's full of it. There's no way. And I started asking him some questions, that if it was real, he gave me like a very generic answer, but he kept posting his wins. And I hit him up one day. I was like, hey man, how do I be like you? He's like, oh man, give me a generic. You don't want to be like me, man. Be like yourself. But I kept hitting him up. I was like, hey man, like for real, like can we talk on the phone? Can we do something? And we started talking on the phone, man. Just lucky enough, he liked me.
Yeah.
And he's been like mentoring me, and it's really helped grow my business exponentially because he's giving me the formulas that he himself had put in place.
Yeah.
Especially having a mentor who's in your space.
I mean, that's everything, right?
Did you have a mentor in your space in this?
So I think my first mentor was Tai Lopez, right? And Tai Lopez is a course guru. He's kind of like the sort of model we were talking shit about before. But I'll tell you, Tai Lopez, and look, most people that take courses online are failures. They fail because they don't stick it out. When it gets hard, they don't stick it out, right? But I remember seeing a video of Tai Lopez talking to some 19-year-old kid or 17, 18-year-old kid. And I remember he said, hey, you went through my course. How's your social media marketing company doing? And he's like, dude, we just had a $40,000 month. And just like you said, I was like, no fucking way. That's bullshit. There's no way. And that made me kind of procrastinate getting started. But eventually I started. And now we do like $300,000 a month. Like now we're if I did $40,000 a month, I would be panicking because I'd have to figure out how to pay all the bills, how to pay our employees, So first you have to think it's possible, but second, you have to have a mentor. So Tai Lopez was definitely my first mentor because he got me started and he showed me, but I had mentors before that because I worked for a company called Beacon Payments. Mm-hmm. And the 2 owners of that company and my sales manager, district manager, whatever, they took me under their wing. But that doesn't happen if you don't show them that you want it. So when you hit up your mentor, you hit him up once and he kind of pushed you off, but when you keep coming and people see that you are here and you're showing up and you want to put in the work and you're willing to do whatever it takes, whenever I see somebody like that has that tenacity and has that drive, I will do anything to make sure they're successful because I know that my time isn't wasted. People have this misconception that rich people or successful people want to hoard all this knowledge and information for themselves. They don't want to give it to somebody that's going to squander it, right? So they actually, people who are successful, want to see somebody that reminds them of themselves. And that's what my mentors did. They saw their younger selves in me. And now with a lot of my employees, like Donald or any of them, I see a little bit of myself or something where I'm like, okay, these people want it. It's a good investment. I don't get anything from it. I mean, I guess if they're my employees, I do. But it's about the drive and the fact that it's not going to be wasted, right?
It's all about that apprenticeship. Like, successful people want to pass on their knowledge that they gathered. That brings them happiness doing that.
Yep.
Of course, they're not going to waste their time with everybody because time is finite. So you're going to want to spend time with people who are going to. It's a sense of pride for them when they give you this knowledge and you implement it and you become successful. They feel so good inside. Mm-hmm. And some of the most giving people I ever met were successful people.
Yeah.
The hardest workers I ever met were successful people.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because I'll get people that hit me up on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever all the time. Hey, bro, I have this question. I want to start a business. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, hey, that's awesome. I do a group call on Zoom that's live and it's completely free every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to show up. Let's get on the call and answer any of your questions. Sick, dude. Thanks. Hey, here's this link where you can sign up. You'll get a notification reminding you of the call. Just join. Are you free Friday at 1? Yeah, I got nothing going on. I don't even have a job. Okay, cool. And then they don't show up. You think I'm going to fucking track them down? No, because they're not willing to put in the work on themselves to even show up for the answer. If you were given an opportunity like that when you were in your situation, would you have showed up? If you're trying to learn from somebody?
I would show up an hour and a half early.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. So when people do show up, I'm like, all right, they're here. And when they show up again, okay, cool. I'm in. I'm gonna invest my time and resources into you because I know it's gonna help you get to that next step. I
remember I used to for opportunities that didn't even pan out, because I didn't get my first car until I was 25.
Yep.
I used to ride this like 30-year-old mountain bike. It was like terrible, but it was like my little truck. I used to call it my F-150.
Nice.
And I remember I would ride my bike an hour and a half just for this one meeting. I would show up like I wanted to be there on time. I would show up an hour and a half. I would show up an hour and a half early after riding an hour and a half, and I would chain my bike up. Hold on.
Yep.
I would chain my bike up like around the corner because I didn't want them to see me like pull up on a bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would do that for every opportunity that I could. And a lot of opportunities didn't pan out, but I never stopped, and I always kept looking, always searching.
Yeah.
Forever the student, forever searching the master.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky with that strategy.
Life, business, jiu-jitsu, anything that you want to be successful in long term, you have to always be the student. You tend to have these times where you have these highs and you think you figured it all out, you got it, and I always have to remind myself, hey bro, you don't always know everything, and there's always somebody doing better than you, so you always have to do what you can to learn from them. There's always somebody doing worse than you, and mm-hmm. you have to do what you can to realize that you're not there anymore.
Another thing to keep in mind too, like I've spent a lot of money on mentorship. I spent a lot of money on courses and education and workshops and stuff.
Yep.
And I would say like 90% of that didn't use any of it.
Yep.
Like really like unusable. But 10% of it was good.
Carlos, isn't that funny? That's literally the ratio I use for the. I'll tell you in a second. But yeah, it's real quick before we forget.
Yeah, tell me.
I always use this metaphor of like marketing or getting a mentor or investing in coaching and stuff like that. I always say it's literally the same metaphor, the same ratio you just said is like, even if 9 out of 10 of them don't work, that 10%, that one that works is going to be way more fruitful than what you invested. So if you're running Facebook ads, or if you're hiring marketing companies, you might have to try 10 of them and mm-hmm. 9 of them might not work. Yeah. But that one is the thing that punches your ticket,
What if the answer was number 10?
Yeah.
But because you were so scared of losing your money,
yep.
and I've actually gone broke a lot of times, like taking these chances and it
Yep.
not working out, and everyone's calling me dumb, and you're like, you're not good with your money, this and that.
Yep.
I'm like, you just don't see the vision on what I'm doing. I see the vision. And so let's say the answer is on number 10, but you're so worried about what other people think, and you're so worried about being broke that you're not willing to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9
Yep.
to get to the gold.
Yep.
You got to have some faith.
And faith is exactly what it is. If you can firmly believe that something's going to happen, do you know how much that increases the chance of it actually happening? You know, you got to see the forest through the trees, or the trees through the forest.
Exactly.
You got to be able to see. You have to have your eyes on the prize when you're completely blind. You need to be able to know exactly where you're going and what's on the other side, because that's going to get you through, the hard times. And you have to have a why. A why is so, so important. Most people think that their why is money or security or to pay the bills, but it's not. It's deeper than that. And if you can't connect with that why, you're lost,
Exactly. And a cool thing too is, like, I also look at life like a video game. So I never play video games. No hate out there. If you play video games and that's your thing and that's what you like to do, no hate. Because people, every time I bring this up, people think I'm hating on people who play video games. I'm not hating on you guys. I'm hating on you guys. Just joking. But I never play video games. I find it to be a waste of time. And so I remember I never played video games. But then a couple of years ago, I was sort of burned out. And when I was telling you that, everything was crumbling. I was like burned out. I was like, I need a break. And I had a friend who liked to play games. And I was like, all right, let me play a game. I need to get my mind off of business for like a week.
Yep.
I downloaded Grand Theft Auto 5, I think it was. And I played that. I beat that game within a week. And they're like, because I had to go through. And as I was like going through the game, I beat it. And it was fun. I was like upgrading everything. You upgrade, I remember thinking, people literally play games like this every day for years.
Yep.
For years. And I've only played it for a week and deleted it. But I was like, you can upgrade in life, right?
Yeah, right.
These little side quests you do? You could do that in life. All these accomplishments, this money you get, this upgraded to the car, these clothes, this apartment, whatever it is, you can get this in real life. Why would you play safe? And that's what I realized it is. People are playing safe. They're scared to do it in real life.
Yeah.
They rather play the video game and live vicariously through the video game. And in fantasy, they're fantasizing about it, right? Why do you not play again? You're fantasizing you're the character. You're living as the character. Why can't you be the character? Be the character who does this.
100%, dude. And it's an escape from reality, right? People, and that's a shortcut because people don't want to put in the hard work. But people, one thing it never made sense to me is people will go their whole life being miserable without taking a risk to go get their dreams because they're comfortable being miserable. What the fuck? I don't get that. Why? How? If you're a manager at a insurance company and you hate your job, you hate walking into that gray office with the unnatural lights all over and
the fluorescence.
Sit in a cubicle, have some dickhead boss come by like what's that, office space? Yeah, hey, I'm gonna need you to come in on Saturday and also Sunday. How the fuck are you gonna go your whole life like that and think that
defeated?
Is it lack of belief that somebody can do it? I just don't understand, because why in your right mind would you go 30, 40 years working in that situation when you really could take a year off, go chase your dreams, or it might take you 5 years to even get going, saving up or whatever, but you go after your dreams, and if it doesn't work out, you're back in the same place.
Just scared.
But of what?
They're scared. I don't know what they're scared of.
What are you scared of? Like, it doesn't make sense. You should be scared of the situation you're in. You should be scared of not hitting your potential. You should be scared of being weak and defeated the rest of your life. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, I think a benefit I have was I feel like being homeless, being put in that situation was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I sort of feel, I mean, it could be like a teenager. I had a little bit, I was a little ambitious as a teenager, but I was very lazy teenager. You know what I mean? Maybe most teenagers are, but I was very lazy. Really not that much motivation. When I became homeless, it lit a fire under me to get out of that situation. And that fire has stayed lit since then. And another thing too, remember we're talking about fear? They're scared.
Yeah.
What are they scared of? You know what they're scared of? And I've, as a barber, I've talked to like thousands of clients. They're scared of being homeless. When we break it down.
Yeah.
When we break it down. So what happens if you become broke? Well, what happens if you lose this? Well, I guess like then I'll be homeless. So you're scared to be homeless. Well, look, bro, I've been homeless, and there's nothing to be scared of. And that might be another advantage I have because I've been to where the majority of people are scared to go. I don't fear it.
Yep. Yeah, I think it comes down to like basic human instincts, right? We are creatures built off of survival instincts. So like you said, when you're out in the streets, you're really quick to somebody starts talking shit. You got to fucking hit them in the jaw. Because if you don't, then you're going to get pushed down and that threatens your survival. You know, now your tent that you may be sleeping in maybe gets stolen by somebody who thinks they can push you around.
I never slept in a tent, by the way.
Well, whatever, right? Like I'm just saying homeless people in general, people are driven off of survival. So your brain will make things up. If you see a cord wrapped around, you know, you might think that's a snake because your subconscious mind is looking for threats. And you're right, dude, because it's your subconscious mind looking for threats all the time. And you chasing your dream in your subconscious mind because of the way you were raised and programmed may threaten your survival because then you think, well, what if I don't have a place to sleep? What if I don't have a place to eat? What if I don't get food? That's maybe why they make that decision. Maybe that's, I don't know. But to me, it always made sense. Like, I'm not going to die if I try to go chase my dreams. The upside is so much greater than the downside. It's like, okay, how much lower can I go? This much. How much higher can I go? What's my potential? It is just unreal, the risk versus the winnings. Like, again,
for the people who may watch this, listen to this. Let's say you took the leap of faith and you're in a shaky, uncertain time of your life and you're not really making any money, but you're grinding towards your dreams and you keep falling down, you keep experiencing hurdles, you don't have the answer, you're looking for the answers, you might be in your early 20s or whatever, you're trying to figure it out. One saying I used to tell myself that got me through it all, every day I would tell myself, it would get better before I know it. And I told myself that every single day, and it got better before I knew it. In 10 years, it feels like it flashed by now.
Bro, amazing. Where can people follow you, Jeremiah?
They can follow me, follow my Instagram at jaypro.tv, jaypro.tv. You can follow the Loudr Media Instagram, Loudr Media. Follow Get Loudr podcast on YouTube. And thank you for having me on, bro. This was amazing,
dude. I'm pumped to do your podcast,
and we're about to do jiu-jitsu tomorrow too. We're gonna roll for the first time.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Hey, but I'm out of shape though, so I gotta say that in case he fucks me up, I have an excuse.
We'll deal with it when we deal with it. Yeah. So guys, follow him. He's all of his links to his business and his Instagram and everything. Carlos is gonna throw those in the description, right? So whether you're watching this on YouTube, Instagram, or wherever you're watching this or listening to it, go follow this motherfucker, please. I'm telling you. And follow his podcast too, because he's had a lot of really good guests. Our number 1 episode was Dan Fulkerson, and they just did an interview with Dan Fulkerson. So looking forward to that one. And bro, appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, man.